You're not allowed to cry, even when your mother won't meet your eyes. Even when the old woman with ink-stained fingers erases your name and replaces it with something sweeter to say in the Emperor's tongue. You sit in a red-lacquered room that smells of plum blossoms and damp stone. The wooden bench beneath you is too smooth, polished by the weight of thousands of girls before you. Outside, wind rattles through paper screens. Inside, your stomach coils like a frightened animal. Your feet are bare. They made you wash them again before entering the room, and the skin between your toes still stings from the bristle brush. You're 13, though they've written 16 in the registry. 16 is more appropriate. 16 sounds like you were ready. The official behind the desk doesn't look up. His brush glides over bamboo slips, stopping only once to mutter something about your gentle eyes and adequate height. You are no longer a daughter, no longer a sister, no longer anything with a place to belong. Another girl sits across from you, knees pressed together, eyes downcast. Her embroidered robe is finer than yours. She must be the daughter of a merchant or a minor clerk. Her lips move in silent prayer, repeating some protection spell her grandmother taught her. You wonder if she believes it will work here. The door opens with a whisper of silk, and a palace matron enters. Her face is powdered white, her mouth a sharp red petal. She doesn't smile. She doesn't need to. Up, she says. The Emperor's garden is blooming early. He may wish for new fragrance. You rise. Your limbs obey out of habit, but your heart stays seated on the bench. The walk through the corridors is long. Candles flicker in glass lanterns. Murals of cranes and mountains pass on the walls. You pass under archways carved with dragon scales, and over floor tiles colder than river stones. This place is beautiful in a way that makes your chest tighten. It's the kind of beauty that doesn't ask to be admired, it demands to be survived. The garden is not a garden. It's a courtyard lined with flowering plum trees and still ponds that reflect a sky already forgetting your name. You are told to kneel. The matron arranges your sleeves, tilts your chin, smooths your brow with hands that once belonged to a girl like you. She whispers, "Don't speak unless asked. Don't look unless invited. If he smiles, you nod. If he frowns, you smile wider." You try to hold those rules in your head, but they slip through like pond water. A door slides open. Someone important steps out. You keep your eyes down, as you were taught, but you feel the weight of his gaze on your neck. You wonder what he sees. You wonder if it matters. He speaks softly, as if tasting words instead of using them. "This one?" The matron hesitates. "Still untrained, my lord." He chuckles. "That can be remedied." Then, silence. The kind of silence that makes your lungs ache. He walks away. The matron helps you stand, her grip too firm to be comforting. "You'll go to the Lotus Quarter," she says. "They'll ready you." She doesn't say for what. That night, you sleep on a reed mat beneath a painted ceiling of birds that do not fly. The girl from the bench sleeps beside you, her back to the wall, arms wrapped around her knees. You want to speak, to ask her name, but neither of you is ready to say anything out loud. You fall asleep, trying to remember the way home smells in summer: steaming rice, river mud, your mother's hair. In the morning, they cut your hair to collar length. They soak you in milk water. They teach you how to kneel without trembling, how to walk without sound, how to smile without hope. You are told to forget your real name. That name belongs to someone who no longer exists. The new one tastes like ash when you whisper it to yourself. You keep your eyes forward when they beat the girl who spilled the wine. They say she embarrassed the court. But the real reason was that the emperor's younger cousin didn't like being reminded of his own reflection in the bronze tray. In the training halls, elegance is survival. Your days begin before the sun with chants and tea that scalds your throat. You memorize palace etiquette like scripture: where to stand, when to bow, which expression to wear, in front of which man. The senior attendants call it polishing jade. You know better. This is sanding away what's left of yourself until you gleam hollow and shining. Mistress Lian oversees the class of newer girls. Her voice is low, never raised. She carries a bamboo rod, but she rarely uses it. She doesn't need to. Her presence alone is enough to freeze your hands mid-gesture. The tongue can lose you favour. The eyes can earn you punishment. The hips, she pauses, can buy you another year. She rarely speaks about her own time as a concubine, but you see it in the way she stands one shoulder slightly higher than the other, a scar trailing beneath her left ear like a forgotten thread. There's a girl named Fen in your group, younger than she admits. She laughs at the wrong things and eats too slowly, but she's quick with her hands. When no one's looking, she sews hidden pockets into your robes, tucks dried orange peel into your sleeves. Small comforts, she says, for when the air gets too heavy. End of section Sen. Fen believes in luck. You don't, but you eat the orange peel anyway. One evening, you practice calligraphy under the eye of a visiting minister. He leans too close as you write, his breath warm and wet in your ear. You have a graceful hand, he says, fingers brushing your wrist. Perhaps it could be trained to serve elsewhere. You keep writing. The stroke trembles slightly. Mistress Lian says nothing. When he leaves, she pours ink over your work and says, "Do not flinch, they smell it." That night, you can't sleep. You watch the shadows shift across the floor tiles, turning soft corners into hard lines. The next morning, a new girl arrives. Her eyes are red. Her accent is northern. She doesn't know yet to bow when spoken to. She will learn. During embroidery class, one of the older girls pricks her finger and bleeds on the silk. The instructor slaps her hard enough to leave a handprint, then orders her to redo the entire panel. The girl nods. Her eyes don't water. You wonder when that started. The rules never stop changing. One week, you're told to walk quickly. The next, to float like mist. Some men prefer modesty. Others want fire. You shape yourself to their wants, like dough pressed into different moulds. But each mould leaves a mark. Each transformation takes something with it. You hear of a girl who became a favourite. The emperor gave her a comb made of white jade. 3 weeks later she miscarried in the night and was never seen again. No one says her name now. It would be dangerous. And still, Fen smiles. Still, she hums songs from home beneath her breath when the matron walks away. You ask her why. She says, because if I forget how to hum, I might forget how to breathe. You don't tell her that some days forgetting feels easier. At the end of the season, Mistress Lian pulls you aside. Her tone is clipped. He has asked for you. Your stomach turns to ice. Smile, she says. He likes smiles. You ask, which one? Her mouth tightens. You'll know when you see him. And so you follow the eunuch through corridors, washed in moonlight, your slippers silent on polished floors. Somewhere behind you, the bells chime the hour. Somewhere ahead, a door waits. And behind that door, someone powerful enough to erase your body from the earth with a word has decided to see what you're worth. You try not to move when he touches your face, not because you want to please him, but because the room is full of silk and eyes, and you know pain comes faster when you flinch. The room is warm, too warm. Candles drip along every surface, their scent thick with sweet resin and old dust. Gold leaf clings to the carved rafters above your head, flaking like brittle memory. Outside, music plays a guqin trembling under skilled fingers, but the door is shut, and the sound barely reaches through the walls. You kneel on a padded cushion that smells of perfume and mould. The matron whispered before sending you in, "Do not raise your eyes unless spoken to. Do not speak unless invited." You hold those words between your teeth, pressing them against your tongue like a splinter you cannot swallow. The man before you wears robes that shimmer when he moves deep blue, dyed with indigo, trimmed with a narrow border of silver-threaded clouds. His hair is pulled into a high knot, pinned with jade. He is younger than you expected. Not the emperor, you know that much. But he walks with the confidence of someone used to taking what he wants. He tilts his head. You're quieter than the others. You lower your head further. The matron told you what to say to this, but the words stick. He waits. Finally, you whisper, "I was told quiet is favoured." He chuckles. "By old men. I am not old." He leans closer, enough that you smell the wine on his breath. Plum wine, thick and sour. You do not look at him. You study the floor instead. Its surface is smooth lacquer, and you can just barely see your reflection, warped and small beneath your knees. His hand lifts your chin, slowly, not rough, but not soft either, just certain. You resist the instinct to pull away. Still, like a deer in frost, he murmurs, "Pretty." He brushes your lower lip with his thumb. You do not move. You do not speak. You do not breathe. When he stands, you almost collapse with relief. He walks to the window, parts the screen. Outside, a plum tree sways in the winter wind, the branches bare. "I hear you were sent from the Lotus Quarter. Good record, no defiance." He doesn't turn. "I like obedience." You whisper, "Yes, my lord." He turns then. "Come." You stand, knees trembling, and walk to him. Your heart thuds so loud you wonder if he can hear it. He points to a wooden tray on the low table. It holds a carved comb, a tiny bronze mirror, and a bowl of warm water with a white towel folded beside it. "Brush my hair." You nod. The comb is light in your hands, but it feels like stone. You kneel behind him, begin to undo the pins, section by section. His hair is thick, black, and heavy. It falls across your fingers like the memory of river water. He speaks again, quieter this time. "Do you think I'm cruel?" You pause, then keep combing. The question is not meant to be answered. He continues. "Some do. They say I use the women here like toys, that I discard what I break." You hear your own breath catch. "But I think cruelty is a word used by those who've never been powerless," he says, voice drifting like smoke. "You understand that, don't you?" You stop combing, just for a moment. "Yes," you say. He leans back against you slightly. "That's why I'll keep you." Your hands keep moving, but your throat burns. There is no ceremony, no approval seal, no permission granted by the Empress Dowager. But his words spoken so softly it could be mistaken for kindness is final. You are his now. When you are dismissed hours later, your steps are steady only because you have rehearsed them so many times in your head. Fen is waiting in the hall. She doesn't speak. She only takes your hand and walks beside you in silence. In your quarters, the lamp flickers low. A gift has been left on your sleeping mat, a silk robe dyed crimson with plum blossoms stitched along the hem. The robe is beautiful. You do not touch it. You lie on your side, staring at the shadows it casts on the wall. It looks like a burning tree. And still, the music from the pavilion plays on. You begin to count days not by sunrises, but by which robe he selects. When it's yellow, you know he wants to be obeyed. When it's black, you know someone will suffer. The inner court is not what people imagine. There are no laughing beauties playing music in gardens, no silken fans fluttering over cups of tea. There are voices behind walls, faces behind screens, secrets behind every smile. It is a place where survival wears perfume and walks on tiptoe. You now reside in a private suite inside the south wing of the Jade Terrace. It's warmer than the training hall, and the food is better steamed fish, duck broth, and sweet rice dumplings. But the doors don't have handles on the inside. Your new quarters have carved panels of swans and chrysanthemums, and a mirror too tall to avoid. It shows a girl who still speaks softly, but no longer lowers her eyes unless forced to. He visits often. Sometimes he wants music, sometimes he wants silence. Once, he brought you a poem he'd written and asked you to recite it back while kneeling. He smiled when you mispronounced a character, then slapped you, gently, almost like a parent correcting a child. You didn't cry. You apologized. He laughed. You're learning. Outside your chamber, the politics sharpen. Rank means everything. A concubine who carries royal blood in her belly might rise to noble title, but those who fall from favour don't fade quietly. They vanish. One day they're there, the next, a blank space at the table. Lady Hui was one of them. She once gifted you a comb carved from sandalwood. She said it reminded her of her younger sister. One morning, her chamber was empty. Her name was scratched from the register. No one spoke of her again. You buried the comb under a tree near the pond. The Empress Dowager rarely appears, but when she does, the entire court stills. She moves with the weight of the past in her robes and carries judgment in her glance. You once bowed too slowly in her presence. The matron pulled you aside later and said, 3 extra heartbeats, that is what nearly cost you your breath. Still, the Dowager watches you. You feel it. Her gaze slides across your skin like cold water, measuring something beyond your body. One afternoon, while serving tea during a ceremonial recital, you hear a whisper from a high-ranked court lady seated nearby. She was chosen by him, not the emperor. That's why she will never rise. You do not react. But inside, you fold the words like paper and tuck them deep. Because it's true. You are not here by virtue. You were not granted imperial favour. You were taken. And he, Zhao Yan, Prince of the Western War, second cousin to the Emperor, is not known for sharing. Zhao Yan is clever. He does not beat you where bruises show. He does not shout. His cruelty is deliberate and dressed in silk. Sometimes he wakes you just to see how long you can kneel without wavering. Sometimes he orders you to smile as he recounts the punishments given to other girls. Once, he asked you which servant girl in the court you liked best, then had her reassigned to kitchen duty without explanation. You learn to say nothing, to like no one, to need less. But Fen refuses. She grows bolder, sings louder in the mornings. Once, she laughed at one of Zhao Yan's jokes in passing an innocent mistake. You begged her to stop. She squeezed your wrist and said, "What's left if I go quiet?" You wanted to answer, but all you could see were the walls of the cold pavilion. Weeks later, she is summoned to his study. You never see her again. You ask no questions, but you dream of her anyway. In one dream, she's standing in the courtyard wearing the red robe they gave you, and the wind is pulling at the threads. She doesn't speak, just looks at you with eyes too wide and too still. When you wake, Your palms are bleeding from your nails. One morning, Zhao Yan does not come. 2 mornings. 3. By the 5th day, your chest feels light, not with hope. Hope is a language long forgotten, but with uncertainty. The palace is restless. Whispers float through the corridors like smoke. There is talk of a border skirmish, a rebellion in the west, a fire in the summer capital. No one knows which rumour is real. Then one evening, a guard comes with a letter. Zhao Yan has been sent away. You are not summoned that night, or the next. No one comes. Your chamber stays untouched, as though wrapped in glass. You begin walking the gardens again, alone. At first you think it's a trick, a test, but days pass and no one stops you. In the 2nd week, you visit the pond where you buried Lady Hui's comb. The soil is soft, you find it still there, a small piece of kindness that outlived its giver. You take it back to your chamber and place it beside your mirror. Later that night, a maid brings a scroll from the Empress Dowager. It contains only a poem, 7 characters, a line from an old folk song about snow melting from the roofs of homes that never felt warm. You read it again and again, not because you understand it fully, but because for the first time in seasons, someone has spoken to you without asking anything in return. And that feels like the first step towards something you had forgotten you were allowed to have. A future not yet written. Sometimes survival feels heavier than grief. You have outlived everyone who once spoke your name with love, and now you wake to silence that sounds almost like victory, but it isn't. Zhao Yan never returned. The rumours changed shape as seasons passed. One said he died of fever in the western provinces. Another that he was executed quietly for plotting to displace the emperor's heir. The truth was buried somewhere beneath layers of ceremony and silence. You never asked. You didn't need to. The palace had already begun to forget him long before his body went cold. What lingered was not him, but the absence he left behind. A quiet hole in the air where fear used to sit. You expected to be discarded the moment he vanished. Reassigned to a lesser post, exiled to the cold palace, like so many before. But instead, you were left untouched. No one claimed you. No one summoned you. At first, it felt like another trick. Then it simply felt like emptiness. The court moved around you like a tide. New favourites were chosen. New concubines arrived, too young to know they were walking into chains. You watched them being guided through the same painted corridors, their footsteps light, their eyes bright with belief. The same belief you once carried like a gift. The same belief that was used against you. There is one, a girl named Shui, barely 15. She reminds you of Fen, not in appearance, but in spirit. She asks too many questions, laughs too easily, sings under her breath while arranging tea leaves into the shape of plum blossoms. One afternoon, you find her crying behind the eastern garden wall. She has been summoned by one of the Chancellor's sons, young, cruel, careless. She says, "They told me I would be safe here." You look at her face, round and flushed from weeping, and for the first time in years, you feel something that doesn't burn. It isn't warmth, not quite, but it's close. You give her a piece of dried orange peel you've kept hidden in a carved box. You don't say why, you just place it in her hand. "Breathe through your nose when he gets close," you whisper. "It helps you not flinch." She nods, and your fingers brush hers. That night, you cannot sleep. The memory of Fen stirs again. Her smile, her song, the way she used to lean over and whisper things that made no sense but made you laugh anyway. You remember her last words before she was taken. "What's left if I go quiet? You didn't understand it then. Now you do. Your voice had been buried so deep inside silence that even the sound of your own breath had become foreign. But now something stirs. Not a rebellion. No one rebels here and lives. But a question. What if you remembered out loud? The Chamber of Names lies in the oldest part of the palace complex. Few go there anymore. It holds the records of women who once served, lived, died, or disappeared under painted ceilings. Eunuchs keep the ledgers, pages bound in black silk, the names brushed in ink that fades like breath. Most names are crossed out. Some are torn away entirely. You've seen it. One afternoon, using the excuse of delivering herbal tea to the elderly record keeper, you slip inside. The shelves smell of dust and ink. The room is dim, lit only by slats of sunlight from a carved screen. You search until your fingers shake, and then you find her. Her name is still there. Fen. No honorific, no detail, just a single name and a date. No cause of death listed. No reassignment. No burial place recorded. You touch the page. It's soft at the edges, the ink uneven. She existed. The page says so, even if the palace acts like she didn't. And next to her's another, Hui, the woman who gave you the comb. You realize something then. This room holds not just names, but pieces of memory too stubborn to vanish. Every woman marked down here was once like you, like Fen, like Shui. Some kind, some cruel, all pulled into a system that saw only their faces and forgot their voices. But what if someone remembered? What if someone, even silently, even in secret, decided not to let the forgetting finish its work? You steal nothing. You copy only one page, yours, the one with the name they gave you, and beside it, in shaky brushstrokes, you add your real name. The one your mother whispered into your hair when you were small. You write it down beside the false one and press your thumb to the bottom of the page. A single red print, a mark of proof. That night, you hide the copy beneath the floorboard in your chamber. You don't know if anyone will find it. You don't know if that matters. The next day, Shui brings you a string of paper cranes. She made them from scraps of old poetry books. They're lucky, she says, and they remember what they're folded from. You smile. A real one, she grins back. For now, that is enough. You're almost 30 when the Emperor dies. Not old, not by the court standards, but old enough to be overlooked, invisible, left to drift like the last leaf in winter. His death shakes the palace, but only on the surface. Power shifts like sand beneath the carved jade pillars. You watch it unfold from a distance, no longer summoned, no longer warned. You are not part of this story anymore, but you are still watching. Zhao Yan's nephew ascends the throne, young, educated, too idealistic. The Empress Dowager controls him at first, but her health is fading, and the new emperor begins to issue proclamations faster than his scribes can carve them into stone. One of the first, a review of concubine records, to eliminate corruption, to clear shadows from the court. You see the scroll pinned to the outer wall of the garden pavilion. Names will be re-evaluated, rankings revised, residences reassigned. You know what that means. Many will be cast out. Some fear, some hope. You do neither. That evening, the record keeper sends for you. You haven't seen him since you snuck into the Chamber of Names. You walk carefully through the stone halls, your breath steady, hands folded. He greets you with a bow too deep for a man of his rank. You return it, confused. he smiles faintly. I read the page you copied. Your chest tightens. He continues, I left it where you placed it. Sometimes we are not the only ones who refuse to forget. He hands you a new record, bound in red silk this time. Your name, both names, appear inside. One above the other. The past and the real. You stare at it until your eyes sting. He says nothing more. You nod, and he bows again. You return to your quarters that night and find Shui waiting. She's holding another string of cranes. She's heard. What does it mean? She asks. You open the window. The moonlight spills across the floor. You answer softly, it means someone remembered. She looks down at the cranes, then at you. Can we leave? You pause. You don't know. The next morning, messengers begin visiting the older women in the court. Some are reassigned to religious halls. Others are given silk stipends and sent to countryside estates. A few vanish in carriages that do not return. Your name is not called. Days pass. Then a letter arrives, sealed in black wax. You sit with it in your lap for a long time before opening it. Inside, a simple line. You may go where you please. There is no signature, no explanation. Just freedom, or the shape of it. You pack little. A few robes, the paper cranes, Fenn's orange peel, now dry as parchment but still fragrant. You wrap the red-bound record and place it deep in the folds of your sleeve. As you leave, the guards do not stop you. The gates creak open. You walk past the pond, past the peach trees, past the cold palace that still stands with its windows shuttered tight. The wind is soft. It smells like spring. You do not look back. A year later, you live in a village near the river. It's not your village, it no longer exists, but the hills feel similar, and the sky here is generous. You teach girls to read. You teach them to listen. And when they ask why your eyes always scan the horizon before speaking, you tell them stories that are mostly true. Shui writes, sometimes. She has taken vows at a temple in the mountains, says the air there is clean, and the gods less cruel. You still dream of the palace sometimes. But now, in those dreams, the rooms are not empty. They echo with the names you wrote, the faces you remembered, the voices you refused to forget. The Empress Dowager dies quietly. The young emperor reigns for decades. History will call his time enlightened. But you know what lies beneath all enlightenment. You keep your record safe. You write new names into it. Girls who arrive at your doorstep, bruised in spirit but not broken. Girls who survived what the world tried to silence. Their names will not be crossed out. And when you feel your end approaching, you prepare the ink. You leave instructions that someone, anyone, must continue to write. Because memory is not just a kindness. It is resistance. It is justice, made slow. It is the only way we leave something behind that cannot be erased.